Hello again. Welcome back to Derby for the second T20 International between England and the West Indies. I was just reflecting on my first video from Monday and thinking that actually quite a lot of what I predicted came true. Not to be smug or anything. England won that first game pretty comprehensively, as we predicted here on Cricket Her. England's team selection was fairly conservative. It was exactly the same 11 that they played in their last international, which was also against the West Indies in Sydney back in March. And they promoted Tammy Beaumont up the order to open, with Amy Jones moving down very successfully. I'm sure that Tammy would be keen to emphasise. She certainly seems to have made the position her own for the foreseeable, as I wrote in my Guardian match report, so good for her. The other thing that seems to be coming to fruition is the fact that Deandra Dottin is not going to play a particularly big role in this series with the ball. So she was obviously very successful on Monday with her batting performance, the only one of the West Indies batters to make a contribution. However, she didn't bowl. Now, I asked her about that in the press conference after the game, and she simply said, well, we've got other bowlers. It's an interesting perspective. In reality, probably isn't as straightforward as that. It's possible that she thinks that she wants to focus on her batting. Well, that's fine. Obviously, West Indies definitely need her to make a contribution with the bat, and they're much weaker with their batting than they are with their bowling. But if that's the case, you do wonder why she didn't actually say that, and why she's been saying pre-series, well, I'm going to be bowling and I'm back to full fitness with my bowling. So that's an interesting one, and it will be really interesting to see whether she bowls today and whether she bowls over the rest of the series. Now, in terms of what might change today, will the England 11 change? I don't think so, unfortunately. It's obviously very disappointing for the players who miss out from that 11, but it seems to me that Lisa Keightley and Heather Knight have got this strategy, and they will retain the same 11 for the next two matches at least, and potentially we might see a couple of the other players getting a game in matches 4 and 5, but until the series is in the bag, I think they're going to pursue the same strategy. Now, their strategy is disappointing for the players who've missed out in being selected in the 11, but it's also probably a bit disappointing for some of the players who are actually in the 11. So, for example, Fran Wilson, who on Monday was demoted down the order. So Catherine Brunt and Sarah Glenn both came in ahead of her, and she ended up batting at number 8, probably not really where she wants to be batting. The other person who can probably feel slightly aggrieved with the situation is Maddie Villiers, who, as Sid pointed out in his piece on Cricket Her, appears to be playing as a specialist fielder. Didn't get a chance to bowl, didn't get a chance to bat, and it's just generally quite disappointing for her. The big question overall is, can West Indies pull a win out of the bag today? Well, it is an interesting question. As I've said, they do look quite weak with the bat. Their best hope is probably to try and do similarly to what they did the other day, but actually to properly bowl England out for a cheap total, and then to hope that they haven't got very many runs to chase down. Whether they can do that, well, that's up to them. And really it needs more than just Dottin to step up with the bat. The other big uncertainty today is, you will have noticed, I'm not wearing my shades, I'm not wearing my pink cap today. It's much more the Derby that we have all come to know and love. There's a chill in the air. It feels a bit autumnal. It was raining quite hard earlier today. It hasn't been raining for probably the last hour and a half or so. So I wouldn't have said there's necessarily going to be any problems getting started on time if all continues in this vein. You'll probably be able to see behind me that there is a bit of overcast grey cloud, and if I was Anya Shrubsole, I'd probably be licking my lips and couldn't wait to be getting out there and bowling in these conditions at the Windies. So hopefully the weather forecast is good enough that we can get a game in. We'll just have to see what happens.